ready?
Good.
Let's go.
Welcome to an all-new season of DeerTech TV. You know, being a tech show, it hasn't been an easy production process these past few years. With COVID-19, supply chain issues, and rising inflation to deal with, the not-so-large hunting industry has taken just as many hits as anyone else. But what sets us apart is that we thrive when faced with challenge. Whether we are a small business trying to stay afloat during hard economic times or chasing after elusive Montana elk and crocs. More on that later. Hunters of all types rise to the occasion and come together to find ultimate success. So with that, we here at DeerTech TV wanted to kick off this season with one big thank you to all hunters for supporting one another and for the perseverance that it takes to stay in the hunt. Now it's time to check out a cool new gadget from Burris Optics that will be sure to keep you up at night. Who needs sleep anyways?
Today I want to talk a little bit about thermals, specifically the Burris. This one is the BTS 50 and then the BTH 35, which is a handheld. One's a scope, one's a handheld. So I want to talk to you for a minute, about thermal technology and what you could use it for. For me, it was a real eye-opener. I played around with this all spring. In Wisconsin, we're fortunate. You can spotlight for deer at night, but in a lot of states, Iowa, Illinois, the list goes on and on. You cannot use a light, but you could use a thermal for scouting. Both units have a recorder in it, which is even better yet. Now, I can hit the record button. Once you learn, it's one of those things, the more you do, the more you're gonna learn. When else could you use it? Well, if you hit an animal, you could easily, look for something bedded in the woods. If you waited for 3 or 4 hours, that animal's still gonna be warm. Again, you're gonna be able to easily find it. So if you have a direction, if there's not a good blood trail. The other thing is when you're in a box blind or tree stand at night, and you're always worried about spooking those animals. Well, now I can grab my thermal out of my bag, do a quick scan, see where the deer are, and literally walk around them, so I'm not spooking them. I'm keeping those deer, naive, I guess, where I'm coming in and out, and I'm putting less pressure on them, therefore they're more apt to stay in there. 3 of the features that I absolutely loved on this, number one was they have what they call quick track, which basically puts a little crosshair wherever it senses that heat. It made finding the animals extremely easy, and then you could, especially in the distance, you could hold it steady, it would zoom in, and now I can get a better look at that animal. Second feature that I like, the ease to switch to the different thermal options, from the white hot to the red hot to the black hot. Each situation, depending on how dark it is, makes a big difference. So you're going to find out what's best for you and use that. And it may vary by given the situation of that night, if it's black, dark, or if it's a little bit lighter. Final feature that I'm going to talk about. Picture-in-picture is what I called it, and it's basically that zoom function, where if you see an animal that's a little bit further out in the distance and it's a decent buck, I could put them in the center, get them centered in that box, now look in that box and see a lot more detail on the racks. Gives you just that added advantage of seeing what the animal really has, because you can tell it was big, but how big was it really? Check out the thermal handheld. It's loaded with features for the price point. Welcome to DeerTech TV. Today we're going to frost seed. First, I want to talk a little bit about the products that you use to frost seed, and then why and how the process works. When you frost seed, you want something that's a really, really small seed, and it's typically your alfalfa or clover is the products that you're going to frost seed. Why do you frost seed? Okay, so I frost seed in established plots that I have, either my alfalfa or my clover. It's a great way to add additional length of time that plot's going to last. Typically, alfalfa or clover plot's going to last, anywhere from 2 to 4 years. If I frost seed that, I can get 7. I've already got 10 years out of some of my smaller plots. And the process is pretty simple. You want to do it when it freezes at night and it warms up above that 32 degrees during the day. Typically, what I like is when it gets in the 40s and then like the mid 20s at night. So what happens? So the ground freezes at night, right, solid, And as it warms up in the day, it begins to crack because that moisture is trying to get down. As the ground cracks, this small seed falls right into those cracks, and basically the seed is seeding itself into the ground. Like I said, it's a great way to lengthen the amount of time that you're putting out, because let's face it, clover's expensive. And not only the deer are gonna love it, hunters are gonna love it, because it's gonna attract more whitetails to your property. So let's go down there to my clover field, and I'm gonna show you the process of frost seeding. All right, so how do you tell if your ground's ready to be frost seeded? You can tell. I got roots behind me. You know, we just came down probably a week ago and checked it out. We put roots in the ground. Well, now, watch, I can go on top of this, stand right on the roots, jump up and down. It's totally froze hard right now. So every night it's getting to those, you know, the perfect situation. It's freezing hard. You can feel it. If you look around here, you can find deer tracks everywhere because they're already starting to eat anything that's left on the ground. So this is when you want to frost seed. I'm going to go ahead, get some in my seeder and put a thin coat of seed all across this top here. And what that's going to do is it's going to put new, you know, those new plants into the ground, and it's going to make the old seed bed just reestablish itself even stronger. It's a perfect way to keep that clover growing in those areas where you want it to grow for the next 7 to 10 years.
Coming up next, Brad Rucks is in central Montana for his first ever elk hunt. And let's just say you seasoned elk hunters who are watching right now may have something to say about his footwear.
Today's hunt, we're going to be headed out to Montana hunting with our good friend Keith Miller, who operates Montana Whitetails Inc. Keith also has a place down in Texas, so we're real familiar with him. I've hunted him several times. Most recently, we access hunted on one of those trips. He told me I had to come out there and experience an elk hunt. And we're heading out there. I thought I was in good shape, but you just never know.
Stay tuned.
Today's hunt, we're going to be headed out to Montana hunting with our good friend Keith Miller, who operates Montana Whitetails Inc. Keith also has a place down in Texas, so we're real familiar with him. I've hunted him several times. Most recently, we access hunted on one of those trips. He told me I had to come out there and experience an elk hunt. And we're heading out there. I thought I was in good shape, but you just never know. We get out to Montana, and first off, Keith had switched lodges. They have a beautiful lodge out in Montana, just really impressive. And it was a combination whitetail elk hunt. We could do either. And of course, I've never shot an elk, so we're headed up the mountain, you know, try to harvest an elk. And on the first day, I realized real quickly, I wasn't in very good shape. I didn't know if it was because I didn't do the Stairmaster enough, but there was going to be some pain involved. Must be the smoke that's affecting my lungs. I would have ran up here under normal conditions. He's by a little tree. So the first day we get up to the very top of the mountain, all the elk are across the valley, up the other side, and there is a ton of them. We're just seeing, you can barely hear them bugle, but there's bull elk everywhere. There's tons of cows. So we set the game plan the next day. We're gonna go up the mountain, back down, and up the other side. Wake up early in the morning and guess what? Blisters, just horrendous. I tried to put on my rubber boots, those weren't gonna work. Tried to put on my pack boots, those weren't gonna work. So what do? You break out the reliable Crocs. Probably the only elk hunter that went up to 9,000 feet in a pair of Crocs and came back down. Not only one day, I did it for several days in a row. You love the Crocs. Don't you? These are my lucky Crocs.
Yeah, let's just see how lucky those Crocs really are. Stay tuned.
We were constantly in the bulls, either early in the morning or late in the evening. We saw good bulls. I mean, they came out of nowhere, just couldn't break that 100-yard mark. I mean, I practiced out to 90 yards. I know that's a long poke, but we didn't even get anything close to that, probably 110, 120, 130 yards. We were getting great 6x6 bulls into that range, but not close enough to shoot. So, last day coming down the mountain, my legs were shot. I literally jumped across a creek and just face planted into the ground because I didn't think I could do it anymore. And Keith told us that he couldn't really hunt with us that next day, but he had a plan. And he had another place where he could go up in the mountain. Best part of it, you're gonna drive up to the saddle and you're gonna sit in a tree stand. And we got the tree stand hunt for elk. And it all worked out.
Or did it?
Well, on one of my spills, my sight must have came loose yesterday and I lost it all. Man, you talk about being stupid, because I always normally bring two bows. Because when you drive, you have all the way to do it, and I did not, so I am screwed blue. I should tighten it. You know what I mean? I should have just thought to check.
But you don't think that tighten every bolt on the bow?
And I had it Rucks. I had it tight as tight can be. And then I let it sit in the back of the truck without a case, so that wiggles it more. So it must get loose.
Yeah, that road's pretty rough. Did you look in the back of the truck?
Yeah. Oh, I didn't look in the back of the truck. Maybe that wasn't really.
You never know.
You wouldn't believe it. I feel like I won the lottery. Oh my God. Look.
There it is.
Gotta do a little maintenance here and we'll have this baby up and rolling. The hunt is not ruined.
Keith saves the day.
That is what a good guy does. He said, did you check the back of the truck? And I was like, no. And there it is. Woo-hoo. Every morning when we were going up the mountain, you know, when we're hiking up, you could hear the bulls bugling in the distance. This place was different. It was like dead quiet. Wind was picking up. It's cold. You're overlooking the city of Billings, which is kind of cool. And we're sitting in there probably an hour after light and hadn't seen a thing yet. And you're really thinking to yourself, man, this is gonna suck. We're gonna sit here all day and not see a bull elk. And all of a sudden, like from behind me over my shoulder, I heard almost what I would have said sounded like a whitetail walking, just this little twig crack. And I looked back and nothing was there. And then all of a sudden I heard it again and I look back and I just see this big rack just whoosh. Keith shows up and I tell him that bull's like laying 40 yards away. No. That bull went 250 yards down the frickin' mountain in the steepest part. Oh my gosh. We'll have to go back and look for that. I'm excited. He literally came a long way, so he probably ran 100 yards with a perfect shot. Everybody says they're tough to kill, and they are. On top of it, he ran into a tree and busted off half his rack. For a first elk, I'll take it any day of the week. Pretty happy. Even though the bull got the best of us at the end, ran into a tree on his death run and smacked off half his rack. So there you go, mixed to a better story.
Thanks for watching DeerTech TV. See you next week.